Hey, what's going on? It's Scott. I worked in law enforcement for several years. And if you're thinking of leaving the profession or you actually are planning on leaving the profession, then you don't want to miss this video. I'm going to go over 5 things that can absolutely benefit you when it comes to making the leap. And let's face it, when you put a lot of time and effort and you feel that calling, and then you're looking into something else, it can definitely get uncomfortable at times. But there is life outside of law enforcement. I've been out of law enforcement completely for 2 years now. Yes, I work with law enforcement, but I don't work in it anymore. So the first thing is this. I really encourage you to consider the fact, particularly if you're thinking of leaving the job, are you running from a negative emotion or are you pursuing a new opportunity? Because you could be stressed out, burned out right there in the negativity of other officers. And all it takes is just kind of a shift of perspective and you're right back to feeling rejuvenated and mission focused on law enforcement. So it might not be your time just because you're feeling bad about it or just because you're stressed out. That doesn't mean you have to leave. And I'll give you a case in point. My very first year, I thought that I was working at a department that was a sinking ship. The fact is, it was not a sinking ship. No place is perfect, but it was a pretty darn good department. However, I was thinking that because I got in with a group of negative officers and they negatively influenced me and I made a bad negative decision and I left and went to another department. Now, hold on. I know what you're thinking. Scott, you didn't leave law enforcement. You just went to another department. Well, here's the deal. I went to another department, but then realized my mistake. I left because I was running away from a negative emotion. I wasn't pursuing another opportunity. This can apply as well when it comes to leaving the profession entirely. In fact, one of the senior officers, when I was new on the job, he actually had left earlier in his career. He got out of law enforcement entirely because he was running from a negative emotion. And then he ended up coming back because he realized the mistake he made. And then he ended up working all the way to retirement. So here's the deal. Are you running from something or are you pursuing the next opportunity? I really encourage you to check yourself on that. It's not always easy. It can be uncomfortable, but you got to be real with yourself. Because if you leave and all of a sudden that negative emotion wears off, you could realize you're missing it and you might not be able to come back to it. But if you are pursuing a new opportunity, then here are some additional steps for you to follow. The second thing is this. Never, ever undermine your abilities that you have learned in the profession. Unfortunately, I have heard it way too much where police officers, deputies, whatever the case is, law enforcement officers will say, this is all I know. I don't know too much. I'm a cop, and other self-defeating phrases. That's just a limited mindset. You think about all that you have learned within the profession: safety, tactics, the law, communication. There's so many different things. Now, many former police officers end up launching their own training program based on what they learned in the profession. In a way, I'm speaking from personal experience on that because I realized that I enjoyed talking to people. So now I'm a public speaker. Never, ever undermine your ability. So you need to write down what your strengths are. Could it be team building? Could it be your knowledge of tactics and safety? Could it be communication? Could it be you've learned a lot about forensics, cybersecurity, investigations, how schools operate, so you can work in schools outside of law enforcement? All these different things. I really advise you to take time to assess where your strengths are and also be aware of your weaknesses. But what strengths could you use, the knowledge you gained from a law enforcement career, and pursue that next opportunity in whatever career field you think will be best for you? The third thing is this. You get out of law enforcement and then you think, I want to pursue a career in corporate security. Guess what? There's a lot of law enforcement officers that pursue a career in corporate security. It doesn't mean you're a shoo-in just because you're a former law enforcement officer. You have to do your best to separate yourself from the rest. Therefore, in my opinion, it is crucial for you to do things like setting up a LinkedIn profile. Not only set up the profile, you need to be active in networking with people. Start to send connection requests to the managers and the executives within the industry that you're trying to get into. And then show what you know through video or daily posts, writing articles. That way, when you reach out to someone and say, hey, I would like to be a part of your network. I'm a former police officer seeking a career in corporate security. They can fall back and look at your profile and you have proven and shown to them that you know a lot about it. Now, I will say this, when it comes to something like LinkedIn or Indeed.com or finding a career in general, there is nothing wrong with investing. I didn't say spending, I said investing the time and the money towards hiring a coach, or doing reading on your own to optimize your LinkedIn profile, to optimize your bio and resume on Indeed.com, which is where you can search for jobs, but they can also seek you. There's many more out there, but I'll put a link in the show notes to someone who helped me immensely when it came to learning and building on LinkedIn. I can tell you right now, LinkedIn has helped me with book sales, speaking engagements, and much more. It can help you as well, particularly landing that new job. The fourth thing is you must continuously seek education. Now, this doesn't have to be formal education. You can watch YouTube videos on how to build a LinkedIn profile. You can watch videos on YouTube about how to do an interview for corporate America. It's not the same culture as it is for law enforcement by any means. But there comes a time where maybe certain industries that you want to apply for look at specialty certificates or a master's degree or something like this, where they seek what kind of education level you have obtained and not just your job experience. I know it sounds like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do that. I get it. But when have we ever grown through the easy times? And when do we ever get to our maximum potential just by doing what is easy? You're going to have to push yourself, and it's okay. You can hire a coach to help you go through this transition. You can get in touch with me. I'll help you as well. But let me finish this fourth point by saying, any good officer seeks continuous in-service training during their career. Because if you don't seek in-service training, training in addition to what's offered at the department and beyond the police academy, because you just can't rely on that kind of training. It's no different when you're venturing out on your own for that next opportunity. You must continuously seek to grow. And that does mean investing in an education in some form or fashion, whether it be time and or money. But it's an investment, not an expenditure. My fifth and final suggestion or aspect of encouragement for you is to set realistic expectations. Don't set your goals too high, too fast. What I'm talking about is you can't go from law enforcement. Even if you work the full 30 years and are retired and looking for something to do now, you typically will not be allowed to go to vice president of a major company in corporate America. It doesn't really work like that. Yes, it can happen at certain times. However, have realistic expectations. Also, have a financial cushion. I really encourage you not to just leave the profession and you're not getting income all while you search for that new job. The hiring process can take a little time, even if it's in the private sector, but also, what if you don't get that job immediately and all of a sudden you're left with no way of income? Now, you really run the risk of doing this if you leave the profession abruptly in a negative state of mind. Build up the financial cushion and also understand that this is a very significant change of life. You're going to miss working in law enforcement. I know I do, so I can say you're probably going to miss it. It's a job like no other. However, some of you were probably like, whatever, Scott, I'm over it. Tired of the job. I hate it now. Yeah, okay. If you're pursuing a new opportunity, then yeah, you might not look back, but it still changes you to leave it and then pursue something else. It's a big life change. Now, what I've noticed since leaving is, yes, there has been less stress on my shoulders. That's what I mean, physically because of the gear, but also figuratively because, yeah, the job is stressful, but I still find myself having dreams that I'm on patrol. When I go out, I have to make sure I'm not exercising hypervigilance, rather just be aware. Now, that was a little tangent. Let's get back to getting you the next job, the next opportunity, and things you have to be mindful of when transitioning. Back to number 5. It is a huge life change. Do not hesitate to reach out to those who have left the profession and have found fulfillment in their life, the relationships they have with other people, and finding wholesome career rather than just something they had to do, and find a job they don't like and they're miserable going to it. Network like crazy. It's going to be a big change. I wish you nothing but the best. Do not forget to check the description box. I look forward to talking to you again in another video. Law enforcement is not all you know. Remember that. Take care.